She said, Madeline, it's not a jail. If you don't like it, you can always take him out. But you can't put him, you can take him out, but you won't be able to put him in. My husband called and he said, what's new? We never knew what's new with Madeline, but I said, I put Stephen in the immersion program. He said, oh, you did? You changed your mind? I said, yeah, Roberta said, come, we're going to go through this immersion program. So what happened then, so she was really a great advocate because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Roberta, okay? I wouldn't be here today most probably if it wasn't for my son who came home after being in kindergarten for about a month maybe, and sat there eating his jelly and peanut butter sandwich and said, Mommy, I'm really lucky. And I said, oh, what do you mean? Because, you know, a 5-year-old could be lucky for many reasons. He said, I speak English, I'm learning to speak Spanish, and then I'm going to learn Japanese like my friend Hideto. And I said, you are lucky. And boy, I am going to do something that you are not the only lucky kid in this world. There are going to be lots of other ones. Okay? Well, I tried to get on the Phil Donahue show to talk about immersion with Paul Simon, who wrote the book, The Tongue-Tied American. They weren't too interested. They were more interested in who was getting divorced. So, but, you know, Paul Simon said, Madeline, if you can get on in, you know, the book, The Tongue-Tied American, I still have his letter, we'll go for it, right? Okay. Well, Phil Donahue gave me a no, so I said, okay. So then I met some fellows in the State Department, and they said, they came to Culver City, they're writing a book, David Dolson, one of my great mentors. He said, why don't you start an organization for, like, Canadian Parents for French? And I said, start an organization, how do you do that? They didn't teach me that in nursing school. They taught me how to, you know, scrub in for surgery or whatever. I don't know how to, well, he says, you call up Canadian Parents for French and you find out. Okay. So before we knew it, we kept on going on advocacy. And, you know, and then I started the organization. I'm going to tell you that the first day I called a group of parents to my home to talk about an advocacy group. They said, Madeline, come on, what do you know outside of Culver City besides your relatives? And I said, well, I don't know a whole lot of people, but I will know some, like Nancy and Ann, and a lot of other people I met across the country. Some people walked out of that meeting because they thought I was totally out of whack. But I wasn't going to stop. They didn't bother me. No, we were going to have this organization, which we did. And as Nancy said, it was really the birth of all that really pushed. And we had our first all conference in 1984 with the help of the State Department. It was really the State Department who came to me and said, Madeline, I'd like to help you put on a fundraiser. And I went like, oh my God, I know it's not a bake sale. So we put on the first conference ever on language immersion education. I had never done it before. I had to go to the hotel over here at the Radisson, which was the Pacifica, with not 2 nickels in my pocket, and ask them if we could put on a 2.5-day conference and give me the rooms. So these are all kinds of things. And then I got on the school board. And what could I do on the school board? Okay, we started the Japanese program. But also when I was on the school board, I thought, oh my goodness, advocacy? Oh yeah, I will get Russ Campbell and Dave Dolson, and we will present at one of the School Boards Association, California School Boards Association has an annual conference, you know, up and down the state. So why don't we go and talk to those school administrators and those on school boards and let them know, because where are they going to find out about this? And so we did it at Long Beach. It was in Long Beach at the time. And we had a room was packed of, you know, people who really wanted to see about that. So I think it's all these little steps. We don't stop. We advocate in any way. So because of my advocacy and my strong commitment, and my 3 children have gone on now and lived in Spanish-speaking countries, and my one daughter now lives in South Africa, and she speaks Chichewa. But my daughter, who just finished a nursing program, said to me, Mom, you know what I did? I got my university, because it's her 2nd degree in nursing, to offer a class in Spanish, medical Spanish. So it's like, it snowballs, it rolls, and you just keep rubbing that advocacy off, okay? You just never stop. It doesn't matter where you are. I was at the 99-cent store, okay? And I heard this man speaking to his child in Chinese. I said, oh my God, this is wonderful. It's Chinese, right? And we had this long conversation from UCLA. The kid is only 2 years old. I'm in line. I got out of line so we could talk. I didn't care, you know. And he is now going to be putting his child into the Mandarin program, and just says, oh, thank you, wrote me back. Oh, Madeline, I'm so happy I went down on Lincoln. But it just is like that, you know. I know that in Culver City, when they look at Madeline Ehrlich, they go, Spanish immersion. In fact, I went to, this is really funny, I went to a memorial service a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sitting there in the temple, and the man looks at me and goes, "Oh, Spanish immersion?" My name's Madeline Ehrlich. See, that's okay. You just keep on going. You just keep spreading the word, and we will someday have a bilingual society where we will.
Yes.
And as Nelson Mandela says, if you speak to a man in a language he understands, you reach his mind. But if you speak to in a language, in his language, you reach his heart. And how true. Nelson Mandela is such a beautiful person. Thank you.
So thanks to all on our panel. We'll open up for some questions if anybody wants to talk about enthusiasm or specifics they've overcome or anything else in regards to fostering bilingualism. Any questions?
I have a question for Shelley. Shelley, do you know of any other states that are starting up programs similar to what you're
Well,
saying?
Albuquerque public school system has a similar award.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to our website, we have the information there. If you scroll down a little on the webpage, the reports webpage, we have a whole list of resources. So we have many school district resolutions that have been passed, so you can read them. We have the district awards, the criteria that they're using for the awards from a variety of districts. We've got some of the news coverage that we've had posted. So there's a wealth of resources on the website, so you can see. And there's a PowerPoint from the Albuquerque School District on their project. So, but we had a webinar. Through West Ed on the Seal of iLiteracy. Lori Olson did it, and we had about 150 people from all over the nation in on the webinar, and it was just on the Seal of iLiteracy. So we're waiting to see what happens with that. And we just left a meeting. I just left a meeting in D.C., and so we are trying to plant the seed in reauthorization that there would be a national Seal of multiliteracy as an incentive in the reauthorization. So I don't know, we're hoping.
Yeah, it's nice. We'll never call on the next question.
At our school, we have a very high number of native Spanish speakers, yet we still have a harder time getting Spanish speakers. I think we have a higher number of native speakers in our school than English speakers, yet we still have a hard time getting Spanish speakers in our dual immersion program. What would you recommend in order to promote enthusiasm for this program?
This is really interesting that you say that, because when we met at the Center for Language Education and Research, late 1980s, wasn't it? And we talked about getting the Edison program going in Santa Monica. We thought it was going to be a walk in the park. Oh my God, remember that, Ann? And yeah, we just go over there and they were all going to flock to Edison. And it didn't happen. We were like, what? And so there would need to be a lot of parent education. For a long time, parents, English-speaking parents, did not want to come south of Wilshire in Santa Monica. And the Spanish-speaking parents, they really wanted. So it really is a time where you really have to sit down and educate, because, parents, there's no how to be a parent, or, there's no education for parents, okay? And so, unfortunately, you not only have to educate the kids, but you really have to educate the parents and to really go out and sell. I mean, it was the same thing when we started in the Culver City program. Nobody just jumped, into the program. They were really afraid.
Including you.
Including me, yeah. I mean, somebody had to push me. And then I went over to, every year, I would go to preschools and talk to them and say, how advantageous this was. So you really have to do the same thing. You really do have to do it, or else they're not going to come over. They just don't understand, because their references put them in English. They understand that that's the way it should be, is English immersion.
That's what they say. When you talk to them, they tell you they'll know Spanish and learn Spanish at home.
Yeah.
And we send them to school to learn English. As a matter of fact, 46% of Latinos voted against bilingual education when Proposition 227 passed.